The accounts were never questioned. Until now. The committee sat around the long table, papers stacked, pens tapped, faces serious. Dolly Bantry cleared her throat. She tried to keep her tone even. The charity's funds remain healthy. Expenditure is all recorded. Colonel Bantry nodded. He adjusted his chair. Quite so. The village fair raised more than last year. Reverend Clement looked down at his notes. Yes, and the church bazaar contributed much. For a moment, all was routine, questions, answers, figures. Then Lionel Wychley spoke. Healthy? His tone sharp. He leaned forward. His eyes slid from one face to another. Interesting word, Lady Bantry. Healthy, yes, but transparent. Perhaps not. Dolly stiffened. What do you mean? Lionel smiled thinly. I checked last year's ledger. The sums differ. Small. But they differ. Mr. Simmons, the solicitor, frowned. Irregularities? Perhaps, Wychley said. Or perhaps careless hands. Or hidden hands. Veronica Denham shifted in her chair. That's absurd. Dolly manages everything openly. Lionel raised his brow. Does she? Transparency is a delicate thing. Trust more delicate still. Dolly flushed. Her hands gripped the table edge. I will not have my integrity questioned. Colonel Bantry's jaw tightened. My wife keeps the accounts in order. I will not hear otherwise. Lionel tilted his head. Of course. Loyalty is touching, but loyalty does not erase figures. Miss Marple sat quiet. She watched, eyes steady. Hands folded. She said nothing. But she noted every glance. Mrs. Clement broke the silence. Surely there is some error in calculation, no more. Lionel chuckled. Errors pile up. Errors become patterns, and patterns reveal character. Dolly's pulse quickened. I've done nothing wrong. Perhaps not, Wychley said. Or perhaps too much. People like stories, Lady Bantry. And a story is forming. His words cut deeper than accusation. They hinted, they lingered, they poisoned. Colonel Bantry slammed his palm against the table. Enough of this. Lionel did not flinch. He scribbled in his notebook. A journalist must observe. I see. I write. I publish. That is all. The other shifted uncomfortably. Tension spread, like smoke, suspicion without proof, doubt without cause. Dolly felt every eye on her, her throat dry, her hands cold. She fought. To stay composed, Veronica whispered, Don't let him provoke you. But the damage was done. Seeds planted, trust cracked, eyes lowered. Miss Marple adjusted her spectacles. She studied Lionel's hands, his notes, his smile, noted, stored, remembered. Lionel leaned back, his smirk wide. His pen tapped the page. Some reputations deserved to fall. The silence was broken by a scream. Chairs scraped, steps rushed, the side room. Door half open. Mrs. Clement trembled at the threshold. Her cry still hung in the air. Colonel Bantry moved first. He pushed through. The others followed. Lionel Wychley lay slumped, his head tilted, eyes half open. A letter opener buried deep in his chest. Gasps filled the room. Dolly froze. Her breath caught. Her eyes locked on the figure. Then she saw it. His right hand clenched. Her scarf twisted in his grip. The initials clear. DB stitched in blue thread. Dolly staggered back. That's mine. Arthur, that's mine. Colonel steadied her arm, his face pale. Stay calm, Dolly. But his own voice shook, his gaze fixed on the scarf. He knew what it meant. Everyone knew. Reverend Clement whispered, Dear God, this is murder. Mr. Simmons muttered low, The police must be called. Miss Marple stepped close. Her eyes narrowed, her lips pressed thin. She studied the scarf. Then Dolly's hands. She said nothing. Colonel signaled James, the butler. Telephone, now. Minutes dragged, then boots echoed. Inspector Slack entered, Sergeant Lake at his side. Slack's eyes swept the scene. He stopped at the body. He stopped at the scarf. Then at Dolly. His jaw tightened. "So very neat." Dolly's voice cracked. "Inspector, I don't understand. I didn't—" Slack raised his palm. "Not now. We'll ask later." He crouched by the corpse, pulled the scarf loose, held it up, for all to see. "Lady Bantry's, is it not?" Colonel stepped forward. "Yes, but you mustn't—" Slack cut him off. "Facts first. This man lies dead, a weapon in his chest, a scarf in his hand. That is what I see." Sergeant Lake took notes. "Time of death, sir?" "Soon after we left him," Slack said. "Barely half an hour." Dolly shook her head. "Number, he was alive when we—" Her voice faltered. Mrs. Clement looked away. Veronica bit her lip. No one spoke. In her defense. Slack's gaze hardened. He walked slow. Circled Dolly. "You argued with him. You had access. And now this." Colonel bristled. "My wife had nothing to do with this." Slack's eyes stayed cold. "We'll see. But I trust evidence. More than loyalty." Miss Marple's hand brushed the scarf. She examined the knot. She noted the twist, her mind already moving. But she spoke only 4 words. "Things aren't always simple." Slack glanced at her. Maybe. Or maybe too simple. He turned to Lake. His voice dropped low, words sharp, measured, suspicious. "Too neat? Or too perfect?" Suspicion always chooses the easiest path. Inspector Slack stood firm, his eyes fixed on Dolly. The committee sat stiff around the table. He cleared his throat. "Lady Bantry, the scarf was yours?" Dolly's lips trembled. "Yes, it was mine. But I don't know how—" Slack cut her short. "Where was it last?" "In my dressing room, folded, in the thumb." Press Slack raised his brow. "And now found in a dead man's hand." Murmurs circled the table. Mrs. Clement whispered to her husband. Veronica shifted, uneasy. Mr. Simmons scribbled a note. Dolly glanced around, every eye heavy on her, every whisper sharper than words. "I didn't place it there," Dolly said. "I don't even know how it left the room." Slack's pen tapped against his notebook. "You quarreled with Witchley before the meeting." Her voice, quick. "Number he accused, I defended, nothing more?" Loudly. "Yes." "Emotionally?" Dolly's throat tightened. "I won't deny I was angry." Colonel stepped forward. "That's natural. He insulted her character. Any husband would defend his wife." Slack ignored him. He leaned closer to Dolly. "Anger escalates. Words fail. Hands act. That scarf proves it." Dolly shook her head. "Number, no, it doesn't." Silence stretched. The room colder with every glance. Mrs. Clement sighed. "It looks bad, Dolly. You must admit it." Dolly's cheeks burned. Her hands trembled on the table. "I've been your friend, trusted. Do you all believe I could kill?" No one answered, but the silence answered enough. Doubt had crept in. Colonel clenched his fists. "You insult my wife with this silence. Shame on you all." Slack wrote briskly. "Opportunity, motive, object in hand, strong ground." Miss Marple finally stirred, her eyes calm, her hands folded still. She spoke softly. "Strong ground can still crack." Slack frowned. "Not here, Miss Marple. The facts are plain." Marple tilted her head. "Facts must be weighed. Even plain ones can mislead." Slack dismissed her with a wave. "Later, perhaps." For now, Lady Bantry must answer further. Dolly's eyes filled, her voice low. "You think me guilty, all of you. My name, my honor. Gone." Colonel pressed her shoulder. "Stand firm, Dolly. Truth holds." She nodded weakly, but her gaze darted. Faces she trusted, now clouded. Even Veronica's eyes flickered with doubt. The committee stayed silent. Only suspicion spoke. Only doubt breathed. Slack closed his notebook, his tone final, his words sharp. The room stiffened. "Lady Bantry, you are under suspicion." A village thrives on whispers. By morning, news spread. The fair, the murder, the scarf. Every corner carried a version. At the grocer's, women whispered. At her house, no less. "Her scarf," they said. Shocking, truly shocking. At the inn, men muttered. She quarreled with him. They found him dead after. Too close for comfort. Even children repeated it. Lady Bantry killed the man. Laughter mixed with fear. Reputation shifted quick, from hostess to suspect, from admired to doubted. Colonel Bantry walked stiff, his eyes down, ears filled with gossip. He said nothing. Inside Gossington Hall, tension grew. Servants whispered in corridors. Voices cut off when Dolly entered. She noticed, every glance sharper now. Mrs. Bedos, the housekeeper, avoided her eyes. James, the butler, answered short. Even the maids spoke low, then fell silent. Dolly felt the weight. Her steps faltered. Her hands trembled. She found Marple in the drawing room. Her voice cracked. "Jane, they think I did it." Marple's tone stayed calm. "They are frightened. Fear breeds gossip." Dolly sank into a chair, her face pale. "My own servants, my own neighbors, they turn against me." Marple leaned forward. "Hold steady. Truth will out." Dolly shook her head. "Number truth is too slow. Shame is faster. It spreads. Before anything else." Colonel entered. He placed a hand on Dolly's shoulder. "You must be strong. We'll prove them wrong." Her eyes brimmed. "I am strong, but when every whisper cuts, what strength remains?" Silence followed. The weight of suspicion filled the room. Marple studied Dolly. She spoke softly. "Even the deepest doubt can be broken by one clear fact. Wait, watch. The truth leaves traces." Dolly gripped her hand. "Promise me, Jane, promise me you'll see it through." "I promise," Marple said, her eyes steady, her words sure. But the house did not rest. More whispers crept in, more rumors thickened the air. By evening the servants huddled near the kitchen. A young maid clutched her apron, her voice hushed, but urgent. "I heard from Constable Williams. He said someone saw her." "Her?" another asked. "Lady Bantry, near the lodge, just after the rain." The group leaned close. The maid's voice dropped further. "She wore a hat, with a red feather. That's what he swore." The maids gasped, eyes wide, fear rising. The words carried down the corridor. They reached the drawing room. They reached Marple. And Dolly. The maid stepped forward, wringing her hands, her voice unsteady, but clear. "Someone saw Lady Bantry near the lodge, wearing a red feather hat." One detail can ruin a life. Constable Williams stood stiff in the hall, his notebook open, his cap in hand. Inspector Slack motioned him forward. "Tell them what you saw." Williams cleared his throat. "I was at the lodge, by the gate. Rain had just eased. A figure walked past." Slack leaned closer. "Who?" Williams swallowed. "Lady Bantry, or someone in her likeness. She wore a dark coat and a hat. With a red feather." The room fell silent. Dolly's face drained, her lips parted. But no words came. Colonel stared at her. Confusion struck deep. "Dolly, you never left the house." Dolly shook her head quick. "Number I was inside. I never went out." Slack tapped his notebook. "Yet Constable Williams swears he saw you." Williams nodded. "The feather caught my eye. Bright red, against the gray. I'd know it anywhere." Mrs. Clement whispered. "She always wears that hat." "We've seen it." Veronica bit her lip. "It's unmistakable." Colonel's hands clenched. "Think, Dolly. Did you move it? Did someone borrow it?" Dolly's voice broke. "Number it was in my room, on the stand. I never touched it." Slack smirked faintly. "Evidence grows. Witness accounts matter. A scarf. Now a hat. The whispers returned. Neighbors leaned closer to each other. Doubt thickened. Dolly buried her face in her hands. They want to destroy me, and they will succeed. Colonel bent near. You mustn't give in. We'll find the truth. But his eyes betrayed unease. The picture against Dolly darkened further. Miss Marple rose from her chair. She walked to the constable. Where was she standing? Williams pointed. Near the hedge, just beyond the lodge. Rainwater still dripping then. Marple nodded. Described the hat again. Dark brim, high crown, red feather, stood straight, not bent. Marple's gaze sharpened. The rain was heavy, was it not? Yes, ma'am, a downpour. Yet the feather stood straight, dry, no weight, no droop. Williams hesitated. Suppose it looked dry. I didn't notice at first, but yes, upright, untouched. Marple turned slowly. Her eyes moved across the room, over Dolly, over Veronica, over Iris. She pressed her lips, her voice quiet, but firm. This sighting was staged. Friendship can turn to suspicion. Inspector Slack folded his arms. His eyes scanned the group. Another hat, perhaps? Anyone else owns one with a red feather? Silence stretched. Then all eyes turned. Toward Veronica Denham. She stiffened. Her hand flew to her head. Yes, I own such a hat. So what of it? Slack raised a brow. Describe it. Dark felt, high crown, red feather, worn often. Slack's gaze narrowed. So 2 ladies, 2 hats, 1 witness. Which one passed the lodge? Dolly gasped. Veronica, tell them. It wasn't me. Veronica's jaw tightened. I was in the garden earlier. I wore the hat, yes. But I never went to the lodge. Mrs. Clement whispered to her husband. Could it be her? She had access. Mr. Simmons rubbed his chin. The likeness is strong. A mistake is possible. Dolly's voice shook. You stood silent when they accused me. And now you admit it was your hat? Veronica snapped back. Do you think I'd murder a man? I may quarrel, but I don't kill. Dolly rose from her chair, her eyes wide. You let them believe it was me. Veronica's voice grew sharp. And you let them believe it was me. What loyalty is this? Colonel tried to calm them. Enough. Stop this fighting, both of you. But the committee's eyes shifted, first to Dolly, then to Veronica. Doubt split between them. Inspector Slack spoke low. Both cousins had reason. Both wore the same style. Which one planted the scarf? Which one staged the, sighting? Dolly clenched her fists. Iris borrowed things before. Could it be her? Veronica glared. You point fingers now? At me, at Iris, at anyone but yourself? Dolly's voice cracked. I've carried this shame long enough. I won't carry yours, too. Tension thickened. Mrs. Clement shook her head. 2 suspects, both so close. Too close. Slack leaned over the table. We will sort them. Evidence speaks louder than protests. Veronica turned red. Her breath quickened. Her hands trembled. She looked around the room. Faces stared. Voices muttered. She felt cornered. She slammed her palm down. Her chair scraped back. Her words burst out. Fierce. If you want a killer, look no further than me. Voices reveal more than words. Inspector Slack gathered the committee. Sergeant Lake brought in Miss Jenkins. The telephone operator looked nervous. Slack nodded. Tell them what you heard. Miss Jenkins adjusted her glasses. I took a call yesterday, mid-afternoon, about 3:45. It came from the line at Gossington Hall. Colonel frowned. From this house? Yes, a woman's voice. She said her name. Lady Bantry. Clear as day. Dolly gasped. I made no such call. Jenkins shook her head. She said more. She said, meet me in the small room. Silence swept the table. Eyes turned on Dolly. Her lips parted. But no sound came. Slack's tone cut. Was it her voice? Jenkins hesitated. It sounded refined. Software could be her. Could be someone like her. But the name was spoken. Lady Bantry. Dolly's face flushed. I never used that phrase, never. Ask anyone. Marple stirred at last, her voice calm. That is true. Dolly never calls it the small room, she always says. The morning room. Colonel nodded quickly. Yes, I've heard it all my life. Mrs. Clement agreed. She would never change. Old habits stay. Slack tapped his notebook. But the operator swears. The name was given. The words were used. Dolly's hands trembled. They're framing me. Someone pretended to be me. Marple leaned closer. The phrase betrays the speaker, not Dolly. Someone else imitated her. Veronica shifted uneasily. Her eyes darted. Her lips pressed thin. Mr. Simmons spoke low. Perhaps Veronica? She often uses that phrase. Mrs. Clement frowned. Yes, I've heard her say it. The small room. That's what she calls it. Veronica snapped back. You can't accuse me on a phrase. Anyone could have said it. Dolly turned on her. You stood by while I was dragged through shame, and now your words point at you. Veronica flushed. I have nothing to hide. Colonel stepped forward. Then explain yourself. Where were you at that time? Veronica stammered. I was upstairs, resting. Ask Iris. All eyes turned toward Iris. She smiled faintly. Oh yes, she was upstairs. I remember. Slack's gaze sharpened. Convenient. Very convenient. Veronica clenched her fists. You believe Iris? But not me. Slack leaned closer, his voice low, his eyes fixed. Veronica Denham, I think it's time we talked. Innocence breaks louder than guilt. Inspector Slack folded his arms, his gaze locked on Veronica. Your name keeps rising. Why? Veronica's breath quickened. Her hands shook, her voice strained. Because I'm an easy target, just like Dolly. Slack didn't blink. You used the phrase, the small room. The operator swore she heard it. Veronica stepped back, her eyes wide, her tone sharp. I never called that day. I never touched the phone. Mrs. Clement frowned. But you admit you used the phrase. Yes, but using a phrase isn't murder. Colonel's voice hardened. Then where were you? At the time of the call? Veronica stammered. I told you, in my room. Iris saw me. Slack's brow lifted. An actress's word? Thin protection? Iris raised her chin. I told you the truth. She was upstairs. I would know. Dolly whispered. Convenient. Always so convenient. Veronica spun on her. You think I wanted this? You think I planted your scarf? I would never. Her voice broke. Her chest heaved. Tears formed in her eyes. Slack leaned forward. Anger. Tears. Excuses, but not answers. Why should we believe you? Veronica's hands flew up. Because I didn't do it. I hated his words, yes, but kill him? Never. She turned to Marple. Jane, you know me. Tell them. Tell them I'm no murderer. Marple's face stayed calm, her eyes steady, her voice measured. I know habits, I know words, I know mistakes. But truth reveals itself. Slowly. Veronica collapsed into a chair, her sobs loud, her denial raw. I didn't kill him. I swear I didn't. Slack's tone stayed cold. Then explain the witness. Explain the phrase. Explain the hat. Veronica shook her head. I can't. Because it wasn't me. Her eyes darted. Her voice rose. It was her. Iris. She borrowed Dolly's things. She played her part. Gasps filled the room. All eyes turned to Iris. Her face unreadable. Her smile faint. Slack narrowed his eyes. Accusing your friend? Desperation. Speaks louder than proof. Veronica sobbed harder. She's no friend. She's an actress. She knows how to copy voices, how to dress, how to deceive. Iris's lips curved, her tone smooth. Really, Veronica, Such drama. Veronica pointed a trembling finger. She used Dolly's scarf. She wore the hat. She made the call. She wanted suspicion on us. Not her. Slack shook his head. Too late, your story is weak. Your tears don't wash it clean. Marple leaned back. She said nothing, but her eyes stayed fixed on Iris. Veronica sobbed again, her words desperate, her plea final. She used Dolly's things. Ask Iris. An actress hides in plain sight. All eyes turned to Iris. She did not flinch, her lips curved, her voice smooth. So now it is me, she said. How convenient. Veronica blames me when her story fails. Slack folded his arms. You were quick to defend her before. Now she points to you. Why? Iris shrugged lightly. She panics. She weeps. She clutches at straws. Who wouldn't with suspicion pressing? Her words even, her tone steady. No tremor. No haste. Dolly whispered, faint. She borrowed my scarf once. She could have... Iris cut in. Borrowing is not killing. I wear pretty things, yes, that is all. Veronica's eyes read. You use them to trap us. Iris smiled at her. Such imagination. Perhaps you should be the actress. Slack leaned closer. You were near the rooms. You had the chance. Did you handle the scarf, the hat, the phone? Iris tilted her head. I handle many things. Props, costumes, scripts. But evidence? Number, that is not my stage. Colonel muttered low. She twists words. Marple spoke at last, her tone gentle, but carefully, every word precise, not careless, not rushed. Slack frowned. You call that cleverness? I call it rehearsal, Marple said. Iris laughed softly. Miss Marple sees plays everywhere. The room stayed tense, every eye on Iris, every word a test. Slack pressed again. You deny, yet Veronica swears. Iris leaned back. She swears because she is weak. She cannot bear suspicion. I, however, am calm, because I have nothing to hide. Her poise impressed some. Mrs. Clement whispered. She does sound certain. Mr. Simmons nodded faintly. She answers without fear. Colonel shook his head. Too smooth, too ready. Dolly clutched her chair, her face pale, her body weak. Then she collapsed. Colonel caught her in his arms. Dolly! Gasps rose around the table. Water fetched, a cushion placed. She stirred faintly. Eyes glazed. I can't bear more, she whispered. Colonel's voice broke. Hold on, Dolly. Truth will clear you. Marple's eyes returned to Iris, calm, patient, studying. Iris leaned closer to Slack, her voice low, her smile unshaken. If reputations fall, I'll play the scene perfectly. Truth hurts more than lies. The village changed. Smiles turned short. Greetings grew thin. Doors closed quicker. At the market, Dolly felt it. Eyes followed. Voices lowered. Hands pointed. She was seen near the lodge. They found her scarf. She argued with him. Terrible, isn't it? Dolly walked faster. Her basket clutched tight. Her steps unsteady. Colonel walked beside her. He said nothing, but his jaw stayed clenched. Back at Gossington Hall, the cold deepened. Servants whispered louder. James avoided her eyes. Even Mrs. Bedos hesitated. Tea was set. Cups rattled faintly. Dolly looked around. Not a soul smiled. Her voice cracked. Do they all believe it? Colonel sighed. They hear too much. They think too quick. But you, her gaze sharp. You don't answer. He turned away. I defend you, but every word cuts deeper. Her hands trembled. You doubt me? Colonel hesitated. His silence spoke. Dolly rose from her chair, her voice louder now. My own husband wavers, then what hope remains? Colonel turned back. Dolly, listen. No, she cried. My name drags through mud. My friends stare. My servants whisper. And you... Her breath broke. You falter, too. Her shoulders sagged. Her strength drained. She sank into her seat. Tears streaked her cheeks, her voice faint. I am humiliated. In my own home. Marple entered quietly. She set her knitting down. Her eyes rested on Dolly. "Pain blinds truth," she said softly. "But truth holds. However late, it holds." Dolly shook her head. "Not for me. Shame spreads faster. It stains. Before truth arrives." Colonel pressed his hand to his brow. He paced the room. He spoke low, half to himself. "Evidence piles. Witnesses swear. And yet—" Marple's voice stayed calm. "You must trust what you know of her, not what others say." Colonel stopped pacing, his face pale, his eyes full of conflict. "I love her. I know her. But doubt grows. It gnaws. It whispers." Dolly stared at him, her voice hollow. "You think I killed him?" "No," he said quickly. Then slower. "Not think. But if you had." Her head dropped. Her body shook. "You wound me deeper than all the rest." Marple's eyes softened. She placed a hand on Dolly's arm. "Hold steady. The storm will pass." Dolly whispered, "I am breaking." Colonel turned sharply to Marple, his voice raw, his words final. "If Dolly is guilty, I must know. Time never lies, unless forced to." Miss Marple moved quietly through the hall, her eyes steady, her hands slow. She stopped at the mantel. The clock ticked faintly. 3:30. She checked another in the corridor. 4:45, different. In the study, another clock. 5 minutes past 4, all unmatched. She frowned, then bent near the body. Lionel's pocket watch lay still. The glass cracked, the hands frozen. 3:45. Inspector Slack loomed behind her. "What are you doing?" She did not look up. Noticing, he scoffed. "Old clocks. They never keep right." Marple shook her head. This one stopped sudden, not drift. Sudden. Slack stepped closer. "So what?" He dropped it. She touched the chain. No fall. The glass cracked from pressure, not from drop. The hands were forced. Slack frowned. "You're guessing." "Not guessing." "Look." She held the watch near the lamp. No dust in the crack. Fresh mark. Fresh stop. Slack crossed his arms. "Still proves nothing." Marple rose. 3 clocks, all different. And a watch that froze at the neatest time. "Does that not strike you?" Slack muttered. "It strikes me as nonsense." Marple's gaze sharpened. Or rehearsal. Someone adjusted. Someone fixed the scene. They wanted the moment exact. Sergeant Lake leaned in. "Staged, sir." Slack waved him off. "People see patterns everywhere. Don't mean truth." Marple turned to him. "Then why is the pocket watch still warm to the touch? Why do the clocks differ by minutes only? Not hours. This is no accident." Slack shifted. He said nothing. But his jaw tightened. Marple pressed on. "Lionel died later than they think. Someone wanted him dead earlier. Someone set the stage." Colonel spoke from the corner. "You mean Dolly was framed with time itself?" Marple nodded. "Exactly. Time was bent, just enough, to fit the story." Dolly whispered. "Then I was nowhere near him when he died." Her eyes filled. Her voice shook. "Jane, does this clear me?" Marple placed a hand over hers. "Not yet. But it shifts the ground." Slack growled. "You're building castles. Until I see proof, I don't move." Marple looked down at the still watch. Her voice calm, her words certain. This crime was rehearsed. Like a play. "Masks leave stains." Marple bent close to the chair. Her fingers brushed the fabric. She lifted them back. A faint smudge showed. She held it to the light. Gray, powdered, grease paint. She turned to Slack. "See this?" Slack leaned over, his face blank. "Dust, nothing more." Marple shook her head. "Number grease paint, theatrical kind, used on stage." Dolly whispered. "I never touched such things." Veronica spoke quick. Nor I. I've never worn paint like that. Colonel's voice sharpened. Then who? Marple's eyes narrowed. Someone who works with costumes, with disguises, someone skilled at performance. Her gaze shifted. It rested on Iris. Iris met her eyes without flinch. Her lips curved faintly. How amusing, Miss Marple. Marple ignored the tone. She held her fingers near Dolly. Smell this. What do you catch? Dolly leaned close. Her face tightened. Violets. A perfume. But heavy. Not mine. Veronica sniffed next. Her head shook. Not mine either. I use rose water. Colonel stepped back. So not Dolly, not Veronica. Who then? Slack's pen scratched the page. He muttered. Perfume proves little. Many women use it. Marple corrected him. Not this one. Violet scent with grease paint. A mixture known in the theater. Not common in homes. Slack glanced at Iris. You. Do you use it? Iris gave a small shrug. I am an actress. Of course I know such things. We all do. Veronica shot up. There. She admits it. Iris's smile widened. Admits what? That I perform on stage? That I wear makeup? It is hardly a crime. Slack rubbed his brow. He looked uncertain. Still thin, still circumstantial. Marple's voice stayed calm. But patterns grow. The scarf, the hat, the call, now paint and perfume. They join. Colonel growled low. And still you hesitate, Inspector? Slack raised a hand. Law needs proof, not guesses. Marple leaned closer to him. This is not a guess. This is a trail. Small stains. Led to the mask behind them. Dolly whispered. Jane, you mean Iris staged it all? Marple looked at her, her voice firm. I mean the mask is slipping. All eyes fixed on Iris. She leaned back in her chair, her arms folded, her smile unbroken. The room stayed tense. Dolly's breath shallow, Veronica's eyes sharp, Slack's pen still. Iris let out a soft laugh, her words cool, her tone cutting. Do you take me for an amateur? One phrase betrayed her. The room stayed heavy. No one moved. No one spoke. Iris broke the silence, her tone light, her smile calm. Perhaps we should return to the small room. It is warmer there. Marple's eyes narrowed. Her knitting slipped in her lap. The small room, she repeated softly. Dolly stirred weakly. Her face turned pale. I never call it that. Colonel looked at her. Number you always say the morning room. Veronica nodded quick. She does, always. Mrs. Clement whispered to her husband. The operator, that was the phrase she heard. Marple lifted her head, her eyes sharp now. Indeed. The voice claimed to be Lady Bantry, and spoke of the small room. Slack frowned. He glanced at Marple. You mean? Yes, Marple said. Dolly would never use that phrase, but just now. Iris did. Iris blinked. Her smile faltered. Slip of habit. Nothing more. Marple shook her head. Number, not slip. Habit reveals truth. Phrases are harder to mask than faces. Colonel pointed a finger. So the call was hers, not Dolly's. Slack stepped forward. Is this certain? Marple's voice stayed calm, as certain as breath. Words betray more than actions. Dolly's hands trembled, her voice low. She pretended to be me. She set the trap. Veronica whispered fiercely. I told you. She used Dolly's things. She used her name. And now, her words catch her. Iris tried to laugh. You cling to phrases, such thin strings. Marple fixed her with a steady look. Thin strings bind tight when they repeat. You said it once, you said it again, and the operator heard it too. Slack rubbed his chin, his tone grudging. That is hard to ignore. Iris folded her arms, her voice sharper now. You twist words, Miss Marple, that is all. Marple leaned forward, her eyes clear, her tone firm. Number you, twisted truth, and there is your slip. A web is tightest at the end. The room held its breath, all eyes fixed on Miss Marple. She set her knitting aside, her voice calm, her words sharp. "Let us place the pieces together." Inspector Slack crossed his arms. "Go on, then." Marple nodded. "First the scarf, Dolly's scarf. It was missing before the murder, not taken by Dolly, taken by Iris." Dolly gasped. Her hands clutched the chair. Marple continued. "She used it. She wrapped it in the victim's hand, to point blame." Colonel muttered. "Yes, framed." Marple pressed on. "Second, the hat, the red feather. Dolly's hat stood in her room, yet a figure was seen outside. Hat dry, feather upright. Only someone who borrowed it could stage that sighting." Veronica whispered, "Her. It was her." Marple nodded again. "Third, the call. A voice said, 'Lady Bantry, the small room.' Dolly never uses that phrase, Iris does. She imitated the name, but betrayed herself with habit." Mrs. Clement gasped. "The operator confirmed it." Slack's frown deepened. He tapped his notebook. "Go on." Marple's tone grew firmer. "Fourth, the watch. Stopped at 3:45. Forced, not fallen. Lionel died later, but Iris set the time. She wanted suspicion tied to Dolly's movements," Sergeant Lake muttered. "So she staged the whole thing." Marple looked around the room, her gaze steady. "She rehearsed it, like a part in a play, borrowed props, created scenes, spoke lines, all designed to cast Dolly as the guilty one." Dolly's voice cracked. "She ruined me. She made them all doubt me." Colonel placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're cleared now. It's ending." Veronica leaned forward. "She dragged me into it, too. She would have let me burn with Dolly." Marple's eyes returned to Iris. "You sought revenge. You sought drama. You thought yourself clever, but every mask leaves a trace. Every lie leaves a gap." Slack exhaled slowly, his voice grudging. "It fits. Too well to deny." Dolly's tears fell, her voice faint. "Jane, you saved me." Marple's tone softened. "Truth saves. I only uncover it." The room stayed tense, all faces turned to Iris. Her calm cracked, her breath sharp, her eyes narrowed. She rose suddenly. Her chair scraped the floor, her voice sharp, full of fury. "You old witch! You'll regret this!" "Truth leaves no curtain." Iris stood rigid, her hands tight at her sides, her eyes sharp, flashing. Slack moved closer. "Enough games. The pattern is clear." Iris shook her head. "You build stories, nothing more." Marple's voice steady. "Stories that match every detail. Borrowed scarf, staged hat, forced watch, false call, all yours." Dolly leaned forward. "She ruined me. She let them all believe." Colonel's voice low. "And she mocked us while she did it." Veronica's eyes wet. "She used me. My friendship meant nothing." Iris lifted her chin. "You cling to gossip. No proof binds me." Slack's tone hardened. "Proof enough. Witnesses, phrases, marks of grease paint, perfume, and your own." Slip Iris laughed faintly. "A phrase that convicts me?" Marple replied, calm. "Number your whole act convicts you." The phrase only sealed it. Slack signaled Lake. "Step forward." Lake approached, cuffs ready. Iris's breath quickened. She stepped back. "You dare?" Slack's jaw set. "Justice dares." Lake seized her wrists. Cold steel snapped shut. The click echoed. Gasps circled the room. Dolly exhaled long. Her shoulders shook. Colonel placed a steady hand on her arm. "It's over, Dolly. You're free." Her voice cracked. "Free but scarred. They all doubted me." Marple touched her hand. "Truth clears, but never without pain." Veronica stood apart, her face pale, her voice hollow. "She nearly destroyed us both, and I let her close." Slack turned to her. "You were a suspect, yes, but you're cleared now. Let it rest." Veronica shook her head. "It won't rest, not for me." Dolly looked at her cousin, her eyes soft, though hurt lingered. "We will heal, slowly." Marple nodded. "Suspicion leaves cracks, but cracks can close." Slack gestured to Lake. "Take her." Iris twisted once, but the cuffs held firm. Her smile returned, faint but cutting. She walked toward the door, steps firm, back straight. At the threshold she paused. She turned her head. Her eyes gleamed, her words sharp, final. "Remember, reputations always bleed. Justice heals, but scars remain." The drawing room was quiet, chairs pulled close, faces pale. Tired, Colonel Bantry sat stiff, his hand still on Dolly's. He had not let go. Dolly looked down, her voice thin. "They doubted me. All of them." Veronica lowered her head. "I doubted too. I let fear guide me." Mrs. Clement spoke softly. "We were shaken, but doubt has no excuse." Reverend Clement nodded. "We preach trust, yet we failed it here." Dolly's eyes glistened, her words sharp. Every whisper cut, every look burned. My own home turned against me. Colonel gripped her hand tighter. "I stood by you, but even I faltered once. Forgive me." She met his eyes, her voice trembling. "You faltered, and it hurt most of all." He bowed his head. "I will carry that shame." Marple leaned forward, her tone steady. "Truth always returns, but it limps. It arrives late, bruised, and it leaves marks." Dr. Haydock entered then, his bag in hand. He studied Dolly. "You are unharmed but strained. Rest will heal you." Dolly smiled faintly. "Heal? Yes, but not forget. Forgetting is slower than healing." Veronica looked at her cousin, her words halting. "You have every right to cast me out. Yet I beg your pardon." Dolly's lips trembled. "I cannot forget. But I will not cast you aside. We share more than shame. We share blood." Marple's eyes softened. Suspicion breaks ties. Forgiveness mends them. But the seam always shows. Mrs. Clement sighed. "We must learn from this. We must not let fear guide us again." Reverend Clement bowed his head. "Fear is loud. Truth whispers. That is the struggle of men." Colonel exhaled long. He looked at his wife. "You were brave, Dolly. Braver than us all." She shook her head. "I only endured. Bravery is different." Marple smiled gently. "Endurance is the greater courage, the quiet kind." The fire crackled low, the air still heavy, but the weight had shifted. Dolly leaned back, her voice softer now. "The shame lingers, the hurt remains, but I live, and I am cleared." Marple folded her hands. "Justice heals. Slowly, piece by piece, but scars will remind us." Colonel kissed Dolly's hand. "I will make it right again." Her eyes closed, her whisper faint. "Just never doubt me again." Marple rose, her gaze distant, her words calm. "But remember this, truth is never the end. Shadows wait beyond it." The room fell silent again, every face still, every heart unsettled. And still, in every quiet village, waits another shadow.